Welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. You know what Christy Mathewson wasn't worried about? SIERA. When you're thinking about Pedro Ciriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran.
Like, if we just clip together every time we've talked about him on other people's profiles, we've done a Mickey Cochran episode.
I can't get past Rabbit Marinville. It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I am your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing well. It's been a while. Once again, we've had quite a few missed shows this year due to just various circumstances that have been out of our control, school, just family matters that we've had to deal with. But we're back today, and I'm excited for hopefully another two episode week.
Yeah. And you know, we do like to do 2 episodes a week, but I think honestly saying, I think when we haven't been back in a while, that the energy's up. We kind of get going, attack the news with abandon, and excited to get back on this lovely Tuesday morning, which will turn into afternoon soon. And yeah, we will start off by talking about kind of a weird. The only way I can describe the situation is just weird. And it's like, and you know, this guy before this incident seemed like a pretty likable guy, and you know, just had this, and was kind of a weird bad, just did a weird bad thing. The Josh Donaldson situation. Do you want to just kind of debrief it for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I guess it kind of all started on the field, at least. Last week, there was a play between Donaldson and Tim Anderson at third base where like Tim Anderson slid back into third, and Donaldson like put his knee in front of the bag to like block him from going there, and Tim Anderson got kind of frustrated about it. The bench was cleared, I believe, and it was kind of just a whatever kind of thing. And they faced each other again a week later at Yankee Stadium, and like the two were kind of going at it on Saturday in the first game of the series, and Yasmani Grandal started yelling at Donaldson before he even came to the plate for one of his plate appearances, and bench is cleared again. It was kind of a whole thing, and after the game, this is really when all the storylines started happening. Was after the game, Tony La Russa, who you know has kind of a reputation among baseball fans, said that Donaldson said something racist about to Tim Anderson, which like I heard that and I was shocked. And Josh Donaldson came out and said that he called Tim Anderson Jackie, and he was saying that as a callback to a 2019 interview that Tim Anderson did with, I believe it was either Bleacher Report or Sports Illustrated. It was one of the two, where he said that he felt like he was the new Jackie Robinson because he was bringing fun into baseball along with many people, and he was one of the few people that were getting that were kind of getting disrespected for it. Like there was that incident with Brad Keller in 2019 where Tim Anderson homered, he threw his bat, and there was a benches clearing incident because of that as well. And there were a lot of takes. I was watching MLB Network all yesterday. They hammered this subject into the ground. There was a lot of differing viewpoints. Chris, I'll start with you. Did you have any sort of takes from this, takeaways?
It was weird, and I actually didn't know about the context of the 2019 interview that you just mentioned.
Yeah,
like I don't know, it's weird. Like I don't think Josh Donaldson is necessarily a straight up a bad person for this, but I mean, it was like the wrong move, and I think it was insensitive, and like a bit of a, I guess you would call it like a microaggression, would be like the proper term. But yeah, it's weird, and it's like, obviously it's something that like, it's just, it would be a comment I personally would be uncomfortable making, and wouldn't do it. And I think it's, you know, the he ended up getting, he ended up getting a 1-game suspension from MLB. And I mean, I think MLB kind of had to do it. There had to be some acknowledgement of it, because if there was no punishment, or even if it was just like a fine, I think it would be some form of Major League Baseball not acknowledging it, and they kind of had to. So I definitely understand Major League Baseball's perspective. And with, yeah, like I definitely understand why Tim Anderson was thrown off about it, because like one of the quotes out on the internet was like, Josh Donaldson was trying to say it was an inside joke. And I remember seeing someone on Twitter, I forget who it was, but they were saying that, inside jokes are between friends. Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson aren't exactly friends. So yeah, like it, it was the wrong move. I don't think it was, I don't think it's something that's gonna plague my, what's the term? Completely plague my view of him, but doesn't help it whatsoever, for sure.
Yeah. It was actually Liam Hendricks who said that thing about like inside jokes being between friends, sticking up for his teammate. I don't doubt that Josh Donaldson was referring to that 2019 interview. I don't think he would have just said it in the way that it was interpreted. But like it definitely, like I can see how it came off the wrong way. I think it's like, I feel like you do got to be smarter about saying that, because I don't know, like it doesn't surprise me that it was interpreted that way. Like it was an interview from 3 years ago. Tim Anderson probably doesn't even remember it. Like, of course it was taken that way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially once again, if you're not friends and it's an interview from 3 years ago, you need like context.
And apparently,
there needs to be context provided.
Going into the thing about Josh Donaldson saying it was an inside joke, he mentioned that he said it to him on the field in 2019, the year that he said that, when he was in Atlanta. And I don't know if he talked about if that was the only time he did it or not, but Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson played in the same division together for 2 years. Like he had so many chances to, like, if it was really an inside joke, he had so many chances to keep it going on the field. Why did he just bring it back 3 years later when there was already animosity between the two? Like, I get that it's Josh Donaldson and he's a guy that, like, just the competitive nature in sports is you want to get in people's heads, and Josh Donaldson is for that. I think there's a line to be crossed, and that's probably it. Like, I know that in his mind, he was trying to like reference something he said. But yeah, it does seem very weird to use Jackie Robinson's name as an insult.
Yeah.
Like that's not, like that's not Jackie Robinson's legacy in the world, in baseball. A lot of people had problems with Tim Anderson saying that, but most people didn't even know he said it until now. Like the article's been out for 3 years. Like no one cared about it then. Why do people care about it now?
Yeah.
And yeah, like, yeah, they played in the same division together for 2 years. Like, I think if it was really an inside joke, it would have been said on the field when he was in Minnesota.
Yeah. And yeah, the thing with like, yeah, using Jackie Robinson's name, like he's someone associated with, like, he's, looking back in history, he's not known for being a 311 career hitter. He's known for, being a big advocate for, breaking the color barrier, obviously. And he's associated with social progression and more than baseball. So it's weird to use the name, like probably in some sort of aggressive or passive aggressive tone, in what was sort of like an altercation between the two. What ended up being an altercation between the two. And yeah, it's not Josh Donaldson's best moment, but
yeah, that and also I think Tim Anderson, like a lot of people were saying, like, you can't compare yourself to Jackie Robinson because like what he went through and what Tim Anderson is going through with being scrutinized for having fun is not nearly the same. And that's absolutely true, but I'm pretty sure Tim Anderson knows that. Like, I don't think that's the point he was trying to make.
Yeah, I think he was making making it, what's the term, like a different variation of an equivalency or something like that.
And like I can sort of see his point with like, him being one of the few people that gets like scrutinized for having fun. Like there was obviously that Brad Keller incident, but like Tim Anderson's not the only person bringing fun into baseball. Like there are so many people that are doing it. I mean, the list goes on. But if you can really think of people that like incidents where people got thrown at or just like yelled at or anything for doing that, the only examples I can think of are Jose Batista in 2016. There was that whole thing with the Rangers and Rougned Odor, and the other one, and this might not even really be that, is Ronald Acuna Jr. when he hit like 5 leadoff home runs in a row against the Marlins, and then Jose Urena drilled him on the first pitch of the game.
Yeah.
Like I know that Ronald Acuna is someone who gets associated with having fun in baseball, but like I think that was probably a separate thing.
Right.
And I'm also like I'm trying to think of like one thing that I realized yesterday. I've mentioned, there were chances for Donaldson to say this in Minnesota. Like, not that this directly involved Anderson or Donaldson. But like there was that whole thing last year with the White Sox and Twins during like when Yerman Mercedes hit that home run against Williams Astudillo, and there was like the benches cleared between those teams. Like there's been animosity between Anderson and Donaldson's teams before.
Yeah.
Like, not that it, obviously this is one that directly involved both of them, but like there's been animosity on the field in general before. Like there have been these opportunities for these things to be said.
Yeah, for sure. Just weird situation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to say on the situation?
I think that's everything I had. Like I kind of had the same takeaway as you. Like it's definitely a weird thing. I think Donaldson should have been smarter about it. I know that Tim Anderson did say like it's not something he's gonna sleep off, or he's not gonna like sleep it off or whatever. So that's like gonna be a thing. At least, at the very least, they don't have to face each other again for the remainder of the regular season. So, hopefully it won't be something he has to think about directly on the field soon. But yeah, I think that's probably the worst thing. Like if Tim Anderson felt disrespected by it, I really don't think there needs to be a debate on how bad it was or not.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, anyway, so after getting into that, we can now talk about some more, on the field stuff.
Some fun stuff.
With Adley Rutschman making his debut. He's been, ever since he was walked with the bases loaded.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yep.
He has been, regarded to as one of the top prospects in baseball, if not the top prospect, which, after Bobby Witt like eclipsed his rookie status. Yeah, Adley Rutschman was the number 1 prospect in all of baseball. And yeah, number one overall pick in the 2019 MLB draft, out of Oregon State, and officially made his MLB debut. When did he make his MLB debut?
Saturday.
And actually a pretty cool video, which I'll pull up and share, of, it's kind of what anybody, any fan would do if they got the chance to, strap up the major league uniform and, especially behind home plate where you can really take in the atmosphere.
To go, Adley Rutschman onto the field as a big leaguer for the first time. Shook hands with Andy Fletcher, and then with a standing ovation behind him. Everybody tells you enjoy the moment in your big league debut, and few actually take the moment to soak it all in quite like that. Moments ago, Adley Rutschman.
Yeah,
it's a cool video. I think like 99.9% of people that watch that video will never get to play on a major league field, but every single one like knew exactly what he was doing. and like
Yeah.
could absolutely relate. Like, yeah, that's what I would have done too.
Yeah, and especially like Adley Rutschman isn't the biggest, I guess, victim of this, but after spending years in the minor leagues where,
Mhm.
you know, Adley Rutschman was behind the plate looking at, you know, uh, his view was advertisements for, local car dealerships,
Yeah,
and now his view is
the warehouse.
Camden Yards, the hotel, Utah Street, one of the best ballparks in America, to be quite frank.
Yes.
And signifying he's in the major leagues.
Yeah, I mean, like you said it perfectly. Like Adley, Adley's not the biggest victim of minor league struggles. I mean, like obviously, I mean, even when you have the path like Rutschman, where every single year that you could be eligible for the top 100 prospects, you're in the top 5 on all 3 of the major sites for rankings. Like you're still gonna have days where it's hard, and like Adley definitely had those days. Like there was an injury at the beginning of this year where like it delayed his start in the big leagues. Um, like to go through all that for 3 years, regardless of if others had it worse or not, like to actually get there and to have that many people excited to see you, because Camden Yards had a big crowd that day for what they usually get. Like if you look at the stands, like the entire like first and third base lines were basically filled up.
Right. Yeah,
And that's for a
exactly.
game against the Rays. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like there was a bunch of visiting fans just pouring in to see their team. Like that was probably the most I've seen Orioles fans turn out in a long time. Like other than like opening day games or maybe game 162s.
Yeah. And that transitions into like the idea of what kind of it's not just about Adley Rutschman, the player, who's obviously, on a very good track, obviously, top 5 prospect ever since he got drafted. But it also signifies like there's also what Adley Rutschman brings into the table. So the Orioles, being a horrid team, to put it quite frank, started in 2018, and the first pick they got after turning into a regular last place team was Adley Rutschman, and he's the first great prospect that they get to witness, um, start their team. And if they do have success a few years down the line, you can imagine that Adley Rutschman is probably going to be leading the way, and be, at least, a top 3 player on that team. So he brings that. So it's a bit of a new hope for Orioles fans. Not that they're gonna, make a playoff run because of Adley Rutschman this year, but a couple years down the line with him and guys like Grayson Rodriguez and guys they probably haven't even drafted yet, they will probably, have a bit of a new hope. And I think Adley Rutschman is the symbol of that for Baltimore Orioles fans, and that's why there was such a big turnout, because there hasn't been much reason outside of maybe like Cedric Mullins to watch this team since 2018.
Yeah, you said exactly. Like I was going when you finished, I was going to start out my take with Adley Rutschman is like he symbolizes hope in Baltimore, which is something that the team hasn't had since they won the Jeremy Hellickson sweepstakes at the 2017 trade deadline. Like this is a team, a fan base that has been desperate, like beyond desperate for something to root for. Um, like they've had to watch, every AL East team has had some sort of success in the time that the Orioles have struggled. Like the Red Sox won a World Series, the Yankees have gone to the playoffs every year, the Rays have become a perennial like top team in the league. The Blue Jays are up and coming. Like they've had to watch every single team in their division, strive towards these moments of greatness. They've been stuck in the basement ever since. Like this is the symbol that it's finally their turn. And it starts with Adley Rutschman, which I think is perfect because he's the face of hope in Baltimore, but he's one of many, right? Like in the coming, weeks, months, years, you have Grayson Rodriguez coming up. You're going to have DL Hall coming up. Colton Cowser, Gunnar Henderson, guys they haven't drafted yet. And, if all these guys pan out the way they can, maybe we start to see the team start spending some money, right? Like, these guys are going to be reinforcements. Like, this is like whatever future the Orioles may have and whatever hope that the fan base has for the coming years. It starts like that era started Saturday. That started with Adley Rutschman. And there's also guys like Mountcastle that are already there. Mullins, who has a couple more years of control. They already have a couple of those faces. Austin Hayes is one of them. John Means, if he, when he comes back from Tommy John surgery in maybe late 2023, 2024, those are the guys that are going to be on the Orioles teams that people are going to be excited to watch. And it starts with Adley Rutschman.
Yeah, for sure. And no insult to guys like Mountcastle and Hayes, but they kind of came up, they kind of got their name later. Adley Rutschman we've known about since 2019, and for some like major draft people probably before that, knowing his skill. And just looking at his stats, 2021 in 123 games in the minors had an 899 OPS, 397 on base percentage as well, got 79 walks in 123 games. In 2022, in 19 games, had a 942 OPS. And so far, he's only played a few games. He's only played 3 games and currently 2 for 12 with a triple. And he's so that'll be good. They called him up. They're not going to manipulate his service time at all in the coming years. So, the Orioles will definitely have a big reason to watch. Big reason to watch the Orioles, especially now with Adley Rutschman behind the plate. And it's just watch him develop, and then the chips will continue to fall for that young Orioles, what will be a young Orioles roster soon.
You mentioned they're not manipulating his service time, and to that point, I believe, I might not be correct on this, but I believe the official date that the service time goes into next year is tomorrow. They could have the official date of the 171 days in the majors or whatever. I'm pretty sure that starts tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, I saw it somewhere. It could be wrong. But if that is the case, they're a team that could have waited an extra 5 days to have him into I guess 2028 or instead of 20 or 29 and 28, whatever it was. I don't know the years off the top of my head. But they could have waited an extra year. But
yeah, for sure. And whenever it comes, if Adley Rutschman continues to do well, that's probably a guy you want to have, you want to extend, but we are getting a bit ahead of ourselves if we're talking about that. But anything else on the Adley Rutschman debut?
He tripled in his first game. That was cool.
Yeah.
He scored the game-winning run in, I believe it was Sunday's game. It was either Saturday or Sunday's game, because he was the extra innings runner, and the Orioles walked off in extras.
Yeah. And I think as far as not to go too off topic, but as far as rookies are going this year, I think there were a lot of I think there were a good amount of players that were underperforming who were coming back into the fold. I'm looking at Bobby Witt right now.
Yeah, he's playing great defense and has really good base running. So his F4 is very good right now. Despite his maybe, what has he got, 100 weighted runs created plus?
I'm looking at his reference and he's got 93 OPS plus.
Okay, yeah.
But which is
really sad because he has a 6.8 OPS. That's so sad.
Yeah, he was a slightly alarming of mine, and he's definitely improved since then. He had like a 450 something OPS or
He
mid
homered
400s
yesterday.
OPS in the first like couple weeks of the year, and he's come back. Julio Rodriguez is, I mean, the
Same
Mariners
thing.
cleanup hitter,
Yeah,
and
he hit his first homer in Seattle last night.
yeah, right, and yeah, 727 OPS, 118 OPS plus, 12 stolen bases to lead the league. Lead
Wow.
all of Major League Baseball, which I didn't really know about. That's pretty crazy. So, um, if Adley Rutschman can add to a already very impressive rookie class that is shaping up, especially in the American League. Um, so speaking of some excellence, we have decided to
Yes.
go over the quarter year all stars, because it's good to highlight some players that like we expected to do well who are doing well, because with how about that's we kind of try to go under the radar, so we should acknowledge
hmm
who the best players actually have been the entire season. We split it up. Daniel took the American League, I took the National League for our all-star team, so no conflicting things, no disagreements here. We're
You
just
want to go first?
we're yeah we're just pretending that there's no fan voting. I'm Brian Snitker. Daniel is
Dusty Baker.
Dusty Baker.
Coolest dude in the room.
Yeah, the coolest dude in the room. I'm definitely jealous that you get to be Dusty Baker.
That's why I wanted AL, clearly.
Yeah. um so yeah, I did you ask if I wanted to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. I usually
Yeah.
go first, and how about that? Since slightly
Yeah.
longer, so go ahead.
All right, I'll take National League. And usually when in any lists with AL and NL, AL usually goes first, so we'll switch it up. We'll go National League. So I'll start off with the catcher position. Catcher position is weird because
All of the good catchers in the NL.
Yeah, catcher position is weird. So my catcher, I'll start off by just saying my National League catcher all-star so far is Wilson Contreras, who has a 142 weighted runs created plus, which leads all 21 National League catchers with 60 plus plate appearances. That number might have changed in the last day, but I doubt it. So I chose Wilson Contreras, although if you go to Fangraphs National League catchers, Dalton Varsho leads in F WAR by a good amount. However, he's only played 16 games at catcher this year, so it would kind of feel weird to put him as an all-star catcher. But I mean, he'll probably find a way on that roster wherever it may be. But my starting National League catcher is going to be Wilson Contreras with a 142 weighted runs created plus.
He is day to day right now, but I mean, it's day to day. He'll probably come back.
Yeah, day to day. My first baseman is Paul Goldschmidt. His OPS is well above 880. He's hitting 338 with a 977 OPS and a 184 OPS plus. Leads all National League first basemen in average, on base percentage, weighted runs created plus, and F WAR. Then at second base, I have Jazz Chisholm Jr. He is hitting 290 with a 921 OPS and 160 OPS plus, and he's really improved his defense as well, which is good to see. He has 3 outs above average so far this season. That puts him on pace for between 12 and 15, which is a pretty elite level. And he leads all National League second basemen in slugging, OPS, and weighted runs created plus. Then moving on to third base, this was my easiest decision. And a guy who hasn't been I've seen him on the leaderboards, but I feel like not a lot of people have talked about him as much as people should be talking about him. Maybe it's because he's a little unlikable, but nonetheless, my National League third baseman for at the All-Star game at the quarter way mark is Manny Machado. He leads all of Major League Baseball in FWAR and leads the entire National League in the entire quadruple slash line. He's slashing 365, 440, 604, 1043.
He's nuts. Also, he just had the 4th game since 1901 with 2 doubles, a triple, and a walk.
Yeah. Shout out Hack Miller.
Yeah, shout out Hack Miller, Ed Morgan, Johnny Cooney. They did it in 1923, 28, and 37, respectively. No, it hadn't been done since 1937. Manny Machado did it on Sunday.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. So yeah, shout out to him. He's been killing it all year. It's been pretty extraordinary and makes you think, yeah, that $300 million contract makes a lot of sense for sure. Which makes me realize his opt-out is after 2023. So I wonder if that would ever be. I wonder if, I don't know, that's a little far down the line, but something to think about.
Yeah.
So after talking about the best player in the National League, we move on to a weaker class, which is the National League shortstops. Kind of a weird class, especially when you consider that that Fangraphs switched its like defensive evaluation, and shortstops value is highly dependent on their defensive abilities. And
this is a weak class. Wow.
Looking at the National League leaders in FWAR at the shortstop position at the top of the list.
You can't say the guy that's leading it.
It's Dansby Swanson.
It is Dansby Swanson with 100 weighted runs created plus.
But like no one else is above like 125 right now. And my other option I considered was Trey Turner, and then I looked at his baseball savant and he has -6 outs above average right now. So this is not an angle, this is not a standard angle to go, but I'm going with Dansby Swanson. He leads the National League shortstops in FWAR. He's second among them in outs above average, 95 OPS plus.
Any particular reason you didn't pick Lindor?
Lindor, I think
he does have -6 defensive runs saved, but
yeah, he has. I think he has -1 outs above average as well, and he's at what, like 115 weighted runs created plus?
112.
112.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
I guess so.
There's like there's what, a 12% difference. So I'll take the defense, I guess. So Dansby Swanson is winning this like he's Ozzie Smith, with like average to below average offense. Pretty crazy, but yeah, that was my weirdest decision to make. And then in the outfield, you get 3 outfielders. Specific position not important. First outfielder, the best outfielder in the National League has been Mookie Betts. He is hitting 280 with a 909 OPS and 154 OPS plus. He leads all National League outfielders in FWAR and weighted runs created plus. Pretty easy decision. The second outfielder I am discussing or selecting in my quarterly All-Stars is Brandon Nimmo. He's kind of flying under the radar, hitting 297 with an 839 OPS and 145 OPS plus. He is second among National League outfielders in FWAR and weighted runs created plus. And then my last outfielder I kind of mentioned before, but he's played most of his games in the outfield, and I'm picking Dalton Varsho.
Yeah.
He is hitting 262 with a 792 OPS and a 127 OPS plus. He has 3 outs above average as a guy who has only played, like 25 games in the outfield, and he's third among National League outfielders in FWAR. So, he deserved a spot on the team. He deserved a starting spot on the team. So I put him in the outfield.
I don't think you're wrong in this decision, but I'm very surprised Juan Soto didn't make it.
Yeah, it's weird.
Not that I'm saying you should be, because like those 3 guys objectively have been better than him statistically, but Like, it's just so weird to not see him there, especially because like he has 138 weighted runs created plus. He's a 17.5% walk rate, more walks than strikeouts, but he does have a 248 BABIP and therefore a 245 batting average, 452
Yeah.
slugging.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because like who would I rather see in the All-Star game? Obviously, I'd rather see a Juan Soto at bat than Dalton Varsho at bat. But like, this is the ARR All-Star
Yeah,
review. So we kind of have to go a little unorthodox here. So
yeah, you do. I can tell you that I did the same.
so yeah, I figure, this is not a reflection of what the fan vote will end up being. If you put the fan vote, Juan Soto, I guarantee, would be one of the three outfielders, along with Mookie Betts and one of these guys. But yeah, like it's kind of weird. It is kind of weird not to put Soto in there. And I imagine, I bet by the time All-Star voting comes around, Juan Soto I will consider a top 3 outfielder. But at the moment, he's, I think his defensive runs above average have not been looking good. Offensively, he's looked it's weird to say he would be underperforming because he has like a 140 OPS plus, but it's like we're more used to a 160 or 170 from him, at least last year. So yeah, Juan Soto, I imagine when it comes voting time, he'll be deserving of top 3, but not right now, according to myself. And then in the designated hitter role, as we have that in the National League, I put Pete Alonso. I don't know. I didn't research how much he's played at DH, but I mean, he's just like been one of the best hitters in general, and didn't get a spot yet. He's hitting 288 with an 880 OPS and 152 weighted runs created plus, and he is 8th in the NL in weighted runs created plus, and he's done that while playing almost every game for the Mets this year. So he gets my designated hitter spot. The other potential player I would have put would have been Bryce Harper, who is getting a lot of time at DH right now because of his torn UCL. However, he has missed some games, so I favored Pete Alonso, who had only like a slight difference in the rate statistics, but played 7 more games. All right, and that leads into my pitchers, who we did 5 starters and 5 relievers. So I think I'll kind of go rapid fire on the relievers at least. My first starting pitcher I put was Pablo Lopez. He's a 1.57 ERA, 2.29 FIP, 2.66 expected ERA in 46 innings pitched, and he is the National League ERA leader at the moment. My second starting pitcher is Joe Musgrove. He is a 1.90 ERA, 2.77 FIP, 2.56 expected ERA in 52 innings pitched. He is 3rd in ERA and 5th in FIP. And this is where, like, I don't know, it's kind of a weird decision, but like he is deserving, but obviously he's not going to be an all-star because he's injured right now. But I put Max Scherzer as my 3rd starting pitcher because I believe he's been, up to this point, the 3rd best starting pitcher in the National League. However, I know like he's going to be out 6 weeks, and this won't.
Yeah, I would say 6 weeks. He could possibly be back by the time the All-Star game comes.
Yeah, for sure.
It would have to be like 6 weeks on the dot, though.
Right, exactly. He before he got injured had a 2.54 ERA, 2.94 FIP, 2.80 expected ERA in 49 2/3 innings pitched. Carlos Rodon is going to be my 4th starter. He's been the FIP guy in the National League, the same way like Corbin Burns was, and then Corbin Burns actually ended up winning the ERA title at the end of the year. But Carlos Rodon, 3.43 ERA, but a 2.11 FIP and a 2.60 expected ERA in 44 2/3 innings pitched, and he leads the National League in FIP, strikeouts per 9, and FWAR. So if you were going completely based on FWAR, he would be the number 1 starter. And then my 5th starting pitcher is Kyle Wright. He was a previous How About That, and he had some struggles after, but I think he's settled in after that. He has a 2.49 ERA, 2.48 FIP, 3.12 expected ERA in in 47 innings pitched, and he is third in the National League in fielding independent pitching. So he is he's deserving of a spot in this hypothetical quarterly all-star rotation. And if I were to replace Max Scherzer, I'd probably put someone like maybe Miles Michaelis, who's been pretty wild. 1.96 ERA.
Can I ask about a snub?
Who's the snub?
Where does Zach Wheeler come into this?
Zach Wheeler. Well, he's had a start last night, so I don't think all the stats were updated when I selected this.
Over his last, including last night, over his last 5 starts, 32 2/3 innings pitched, 25 hits allowed, 5 earned runs for a 1.38 ERA, 40 strikeouts, 6 walks, 1 home run for a 1.61 FIP.
Yeah, it would be. He's in another weird spot. 2.29 FIP this year. I should look at his expected ERA because both Michaelis and Wheeler started last night. So that makes me wonder, and I think Michaelis
does have a sub 2 ERA.
He had a sub 2 ERA, but his expected ERA was upper 2s,
low 3s.
So Wheeler was 2.89 expected ERA. Michaelis. Now my computer sounds like a jet airliner. Oh, Michaelis has a 3.25 expected ERA. And how many innings has he thrown? 55 though.
That is a lot.
I'll put Michaelis in still.
Fair enough.
However, by the time All-Star, well, not that we can vote
if you
for
give it another
pitchers.
2 months, I think one of them is going to surpass the other.
Yeah, Wheeler is probably going to be more likely to be on the All-Star team than Miles Michaelis. But Miles Michaelis has had a pretty excellent start. And then that comes to my relievers. My first reliever to put in is Ryan Helsley, who has thrown 15 2/3.
So ridiculous.
15 2/3 scoreless innings, 23 strikeouts, 3 walks. His FIP is 0.35.
It was 0.10 last night.
Yeah, he walked a guy.
Yeah.
What a jabroni. Second reliever in the net coming out of the National League is Josh Hader. He's gone 13 2/3 scoreless innings, 21 strikeouts, 5 walks, 15 out of 15 on save opportunities. My third reliever is Kenley Jansen, who, his 3.06 ERA is not something that's, microscopic by any means. However, he's thrown 17 2/3 innings pitched with a 1.12 FIP and a 1.31 expected ERA, and his 10 out of 11 on save opportunities. He's just been getting BABIP'd a little bit. And he's had some really soft contact. His hard hit rate is like 21% or something like that, which is ridiculous. My fourth reliever is Taylor Rogers, who I keep forgetting is on the San Diego Padres. I've always associated with him with the Twins, and there were so many moves, and I forgot he was on the Padres.
Well, he also got moved last minute.
Yeah, he got moved. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was April 6th.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I went on my MLB The Show franchise, he'd still be on the Twins because they didn't update it.
If you I remember the opening day game for the Padres, they lost to the Diamondbacks on that Seth Beer walk-off home run. And Taylor Rogers wasn't ready yet because he hadn't actually gotten there.
Yeah.
He couldn't close the game, and that's literally why they lost. And that's also how late the trade went down.
Well, they could have used him because he's been one of the best relievers in baseball. Yeah. With 19 1/3 innings pitched, only 1 earned run allowed, 23 strikeouts, 4 walks, and he is 16 out of 17 on save opportunities. And then my final reliever is your Pirates player to watch, David Bednar, who has thrown the most innings out of anyone in this group, 22 innings pitched. He has a 0.82 ERA, 2.19 FIP. He's 9 out of 9 on save opportunities and 4 out of 4 on hold opportunities. I think they had him not going in the 9th before, and then they decided they need to have him go in the 9th. So he has 4 holds and 9 saves, and hasn't blown a save at all so far this year, and he's been excellent. for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have been doing better, a little better than usual. So yeah, so to review I guess we could review after yours.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we go on to the American League.
So starting with American League catcher, I went very unorthodox because the AL catcher class is pretty weak right now. Like, it's obviously you think of like guys like Adley that just came up, so he's not really eligible. MJ Melendez just came up. Salvador Perez got hurt. Yasmani Grandal has been underperforming. I went with a guy that only has 93 plate appearances, but he still leads all American League catchers in F4. I'm going with Jonah Heim as my American League catcher. He has 147 weighted runs created plus, which leads all catchers AL or NL with at least 50 plate appearances. It is only 93, but there has not been a guy that has performed better than him plate appearance for plate appearance. And like I said, he leads all catchers in WAR, which is a count stat even with those plate appearances. So Jonah Heim is my AL catcher. And at first base, I went with another. I wouldn't say this is not nearly as unorthodox, but I mean, you think of the best first baseman in the AL, and this guy might not be the first to come to mind, but he's up there, and it's Ty France. It's pretty undeniable what he's been doing this year. A 166 weighted runs created plus, 1.6 FWAR. Both of those lead all American League first baseman. He's just been killing it all around this year for the Mariners, and he's like the reason they're not even farther under 500 right now. He's been absolutely carrying the entire team for the entire year, and he is my American League first baseman. At second base, I went with a guy that's a little more expected, Jose Altuve. He's been there for years. This will be, I don't even know how many All-Star games he's made, several. He's probably started most of them too. 176 weighted runs created plus on the year, 245 weighted runs created plus since May 3rd. That's incredible. So he's been absolutely destroying the ball lately. It's hard to pick anyone else. At third base, I had a really, really difficult decision to make. There are two guys that are basically like neck and neck. Like they're right there together. It was between Rafael Devers and Jose Ramirez. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I went with Ramirez, but if you pick Devers, you're not wrong. He has 186 weighted runs created plus, which just barely does pass Devers. The thing that really put him over the edge for me, 1.57 walk to strikeout ratio. He walks significantly more than he strikes out at an absurd rate, even if it's this early in the season. It was hard for me to deny Jose Ramirez the All-Star nod.
And I'm looking at the FanGraphs right now, and like Ramirez has been getting BABIP'd a little more than Devers. Yes. Ramirez has a 258 BABIP, which signifies he's been getting a little unlucky, and Rafael Devers has a 375 BABIP, which signifies he's been getting a little lucky.
Yeah, I think Devers has him by 0.0 or 0.1 in F4 right now. I think it's 2.4 to 2.3.
Yep.
It's very close. I would go with Ramirez though, but I mean that could change in one at bat each.
Yeah.
Shortstop, I went with Tim Anderson. That was a much easier decision. 173 weighted runs created plus, 2 F4, and he was one of my players to watch. So it's worth noting. On balls to the opposite field this year, Tim Anderson is batting .487 with an .897 slugging percentage. Both of those ranked top 5 among the 128 hitters with at least 25 balls to the opposite field.
Awesome.
So outfield, like there were 3 no-brainers, but it felt weird. So Mike Trout and Aaron Judge are the obvious ones. Those are the 2 front runners for AL MVP. I felt weird about putting Taylor Ward third, but there's really no other option. Taylor Ward doesn't qualify, but each of Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, and Taylor Ward have at least 220 weighted runs created plus and 2.7 F4. No other American League outfielder has a weighted runs created plus above 176, and also no American League outfielder has a wins above replacement above 1.6. So all 3 of them are a full win above the next best outfielders in the American League, and they're at least 50 weighted runs created plus above. So there was really no other option. So Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, and Taylor Ward are my outfielders. At DH, I picked JD Martinez. He has a 440 BABIP, so he is getting lucky, but he's hitting really well. He has a 179 weighted runs created plus. DH is really just all about who's hitting the best, and no one's doing it better than JD. So he's my DH. And starting pitching, I went pretty mainstream and pretty under the radar, I'd say. My ace is Kevin Gausman. I think that one's a no-brainer. He has pitched 50 innings. He has a mid-2 ZRA, but his FIP, he's been the FIP guy that Corbin Burns was last year. A 1.27 FIP on the year. I think he has like 10.2 strikeouts per nine and like 0.5 walks per nine, something absurd like that. He's been the best pitcher in all of baseball this year. And for my second pitcher, really good comeback story. I'm talking about Justin Verlander, a guy who's kind of been the opposite of Gausman, but in a good way. 51 2/3 innings pitched, a 1.22 ERA. That leads all of baseball, I'm pretty sure. 2.8 FIP. So, it is gonna hit that 1.22 ERA is gonna come up a little bit, but I mean, how can you have a 1.22 ERA and not have it expected to come up?
Yeah.
So Justin Verlander is the number 2 pitcher. The number 3, very recent. How about that of mine and Chris's, Martin Perez. I had to do it. 49 1/3 innings pitched, a 1.64 ERA, 2.42 FIP. The guy's been dominating. My number 4 starter, Tarek Skubal. He's been remarkable this year. 44 2/3 innings pitched, a 2.22 ERA, 1.99 FIP. He's been killing it all around. And my 5 starter is Nestor Cortez of the Yankees. Hard to deny what he's done this year. 45 innings pitched, a 1.8 ERA, 2.57 FIP. So that rounds out my rotation. And going back, so in my relievers, I ended off with a Yankee. I'm going to start off with another Yankee. My number 1 reliever is Clay Holmes, who has been otherworldly this year. In 21 2/3 innings pitched. By chance, do you have his stats pulled up? Don't if you don't.
Okay, no, I don't.
Okay. 21 2/3 innings pitched, an 0.42 ERA, a 1.58 FIP. Do you want to guess what his ground ball rate is right now?
68%.
It is 83.3%.
No.
5 out of 6 batted balls are ground balls against Clay Holmes. That is, and like I said, an 0.42 ERA. That's gross. That is absurd.
Yeah.
Like that is, I mean, it's obviously a much smaller sample size, but that's like 13 percentage points better than Aaron Bummer last year.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
83.3% ground ball rate. My second reliever is also a Yankee. It is Michael King, who has been a multi-inning relief ace for them this year. 26 2/3 innings, 2.03 ERA, but a 1.31 FIP. He's been doing amazing. And my third reliever, another one of my guys to watch, AJ Puck out of Oakland. They're going to need an all-star. I could see AJ Puck, with the way he's performing right now, being like the one Oakland A to be an all-star. And everyone's like, oh, they just needed an A. But this guy deserves it. 18 innings pitched, an 0.5 ERA. He's given up 1 run in 18 innings. He has a 1.77 FIP. He's been dominating all around. It's his sophomore. It's technically his rookie year by service time standards, but it's his second year in the big leagues. My fourth reliever is Eric Swanson of the Seattle Mariners. And he has pitched 14 innings, not as much, but a 1.29 ERA, 2.18 FIP, and probably the biggest emphasis of all, 37.7% K rate minus walk rate.
Whoa.
That leads all relievers. Yeah, he's been insane. And then my final reliever is Sam Hentges of Cleveland, the Guardians. He's pitched 15 innings this year. He is a 1.17 ERA, 1.34 FIP. So that rounds out the AL team, Chris. I'll just round out my team first, since it was more recent. So my catcher is Jonah Heim. My first baseman is Ty France. My second baseman is Jose Altuve. My third baseman is Jose Ramirez. My shortstop is Tim Anderson. My outfield left to right is Taylor Ward, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge. My DH is JD Martinez. My starting pitching is Kevin Gausman, Justin Verlander, Martin Perez, Tarek Skubal, Nestor Cortez. My relief pitchers are Clay Holmes, Michael King, AJ Puck, Eric Swanson, Sam Hentges.
Nice. My National League quarter all-stars. Behind the dish, we got Wilson Contreras at first base, Paul Goldschmidt, second base, Jazz Chisholm, third base, Manny Machado, shortstop, Dansby Swanson, outfield. I didn't put left to right, but I guess hypothetically I would have Mookie Betts in right field, Brendan Nimmo in left field, and Dalton Varsho in center field. And then at the designated hitter spot, I got Pete Alonso. My starting pitchers are Pablo Lopez, Joe Musgrove, Max Scherzer, Carlos Rodon, and Kyle Wright. And my relievers are Ryan Helsley, Josh Hader, Kenley Jansen, Taylor Rogers, and David Bednar. That will lead. So now that we've highlighted some players that have been performing well all year, and who have definitely stood out, we're going to be highlighting some players or subjects that have been doing very well also, maybe a little more under the radar with our Tuesday, May 24, 2022 edition of who do you got for us today?
Chris, are you like moving something in the background? Because like your mic has been very staticky for the last couple minutes.
No, I'll just take my leg off this thing.
You sound a little better.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, my how about that is one of my all-stars. I tried to briefly talk about the guy, so I can talk about him fully right here. I'm talking about Tarek Skubal, who has been the second best starting pitcher in Major League Baseball according to Fangraphs wins above replacement this year. He is 10.07 strikeouts per nine, 1.61 walks per nine, and 0.4 home runs per nine. Last year, he had the K to walk numbers, but he struggled in that he gave up a lot of home runs. That was his one big issue. That was what was stopping him from being elite like he is right now. His four-seam fastball got teed off last year. Opponents slugged .611 against it. So Tarek Skubal responded by making his slider his primary pitch this year. He throws the slider 29%. The fastball is now 28% opposed to 40% last year. And that has made a world of difference for Skubal this year. That's the reason he's been so elite. The slider this year has been the primary pitch that he wants to be. Opponents are hitting 196 with a 235 slugging against it. It also has a run value per 100 of -3.1, which is the 10th lowest among the 219 pitches that have accumulated 50 plate appearances this year. So among those 219 pitches, Tarek Skubal slider pitch for pitch has been the 10th best. That's pretty significant. Last year, Skubal had a 13.9% barrel rate against, which was significantly above average. I think the average was around 10% last year. This year, it is at 5.1%. The 8.8% decrease is the third largest drop among the 241 qualifiers between 2021 and 22. Additionally, his home run to fly ball ratio has gone from 28% to 6.9%. Very nice drop for him. The 21.1% decrease is the 15th largest drop on the same list of 241 qualifiers. And he has also recorded career bests in average exit velocity, sweet spot percentage, hard hit percentage, every expected statistic, and also a career low at launch angle and a career high in ground ball rate. The ground ball rate has gone up almost 10% from last year, from 38% or 38% to 48%. So Tarek Skubal has been otherworldly compared to what he was before. He's not giving up home runs. He's throwing the slider a lot more. He's getting the results he needs.
Tarek Skubal. Yeah, he's been excellent for sure. Really, yeah, like it's weird that he's succeeding in the Tigers. Like we expect if he's taking a step up, then the Tigers would be, stepping up as well. But yeah, the Tigers are in a weird spot, but he is a little diamond in the rough so far for the 2022 Tigers. With my how about that, I feel a little bad because it's a repeat team, but it's a team I have a feeling we're not going to be talking about too much in terms of this category with How About That, because we both highlighted a Ranger last week, but I feel like I don't know how many more Rangers we're going to be talking about. So I am talking about Cole Calhoun.
Yep.
Who in his last 15 games is hitting .353 with an 1198 OPS and a 244 weighted runs created plus. In this span, his slugging ranks 4th, his OPS ranks 4th, and his F4 ranks 6th. And the guys above him are like, Aaron Judge, guys of that caliber. Before this 15 game span where he's absolutely killing it, his barrel rate was 8.5%, which is about average. And in this span, his barrel rate is 22.9%, which is excellent. And his barrel rate ranks 8th out of 254 batters with 25 plus batted balls in this span. And out of these 254 batters, his expected WOBA ranks 10th. So he's not necessarily just getting lucky. He's absolutely barreling the ball up and just improving greatly in this 15 game span. And overall on the year, his barrel rate, average exit velocity, and hard hit rate are on pace to be the highest in his 8 years in the StatCast era. So Cole Calhoun getting a
the big Rangers acquisition from last offseason.
Yes, the big one. Just the Rangers completely broke the bank trying to get this guy, and it's really paying off.
Yeah.
With Cole Calhoun. So now we go from players or subjects that have been underperforming with our Tuesday, May 24, 2022 edition of Slightly Alarming. Who do you got for us today?
My slightly alarming was someone who was a very early How About That of yours last year. He was an MVP finalist, but he has not gotten it going over the last couple of weeks. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's still getting his walks in, but he has not had an extra base hit since May 5th, and it is currently May 24th. Since then, he has a 200 slugging percentage. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 200 slugging percentage over like 15 to 20 games. That is tied for the 4th worst among the 84 qualifiers. And over this time, his ground ball rate is 62.5%, which is 5th highest. And Vlad Guerrero Jr. has been a guy that has had ground ball problems in the past. If you look at his 2019 to 2020 seasons where he, was doing all right, but still wasn't exactly the prospect he was hoping to be. That was one of the big reasons why. And he got away from it last year, which resulted in him finishing 2nd in MVP, having a 600 something slugging percentage. But he's gone back to his old habits this year, or at least in the last couple of weeks. In fact, he's a 3.9 degree launch angle this year, which is much lower than last year. But in this span, his average launch angle is -3 degrees. So he's been hitting the ball into the ground a lot more. Obviously, he's not the fastest guy in the world, so he has not had an extra base hit in over 2 weeks.
Yeah. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Yeah. So that leads into my slightly alarming, which, funnily enough, we don't have the same slightly alarming, but yours goes into mine because I'm talking about the Blue Jays offense.
Yep.
In general, as in their last 21 games, they are hitting .209 with a .609 OPS and 78 weighted runs created plus. 78 weighted runs created plus for the Blue Jays offense, which is star-studded, one of the best offenses in baseball last year. That's alarming. In this span, they are 29th in average, 29th in slugging, 28th in OPS, and 28th in weighted runs created plus. Before this span, the team's ground ball rate was 42.1%, which was 17th in the league, and now it is 45.8%, which was 5th in the league. Funny you mentioned Vladimir Guerrero Jr. having an increase in ground ball rate because I guess that's representative of the team in general. The Blue Jays.
The Raimel Tapia effect.
Yes, the Raimel Tapia effect for sure. They have had the 3rd highest pop-up rate in this span also. So not only an increase in ground balls, but an increase in pop-ups. Their exit velocity has gone from 90.9 miles per hour to 89.5 miles per hour, which, a 1.4 mile per hour difference. If it was an individual, it wouldn't be crazy. But if it's the whole team for 21 games, that might be a little significant. Their hard hit rate has also gone from 46.2% to 40.7%. Goes from an elite level to somewhat middle of the pack. And the Blue Jays barrel rate in this span is 21st, which is pretty wild to consider the players that they have. Guys like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., George Springer, Teoscar Hernandez, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Matt Chapman, and their barrel rate is 21st in this span. And breaking down individually who's been underperforming, you kind of broke down Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Best, but in this 21 game span, he's also hitting .213 with a .610 OPS. With other players, Teoscar Hernandez is hitting .091 with a .286 OPS, -25 weighted runs created plus, a 29.8% strikeout rate, and 3.5% walk rate, which is not a very good ratio there. And he's coming off an injury, so I wonder if that's just a slow start coming off. Anyway, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is hitting .161 with a .422 OPS. Raimel Tapia is hitting .196 with a .446 OPS. And Matt Chapman is hitting .138 with a .521 OPS. So the Blue Jays have hit a bit of a skid. A lot of it is due to their offense just not performing like it should. And yeah, so that puts them as my slightly alarming. So yeah, that does it for players to highlight for good and bad reasons. And now it is time to get into a little preview of the week ahead, even though some of the week has already passed. But we have some series starting tonight. Daniel will be looking at the day-by-day matchups from now until Thursday or Friday. I'm not sure. But in terms of series to watch, oh my God, would you do me a favor and go to the MLB app and look at the Athletics? Oh man, crap.
What's up?
For a quick second, the Athletics Mariners matchup it said Caprillion Kirby, and then it had Chris Bassett and Logan Webb's faces. It's too funny, but I think it was just my phone. Just wasn't.
Oh, I'm checking it right now.
Yeah, it's gone, I think, but it was too funny.
I believe you.
Yeah, it was really
And
funny.
wait, and Logan Webb?
Yeah.
What? like Chris Bassett makes sense because he used to play for the A's. Logan Webb, no relevance to either of these teams.
Yeah. So in terms of series to watch, one I'll definitely be watching because I'm a fan of one of the teams is White Sox Red Sox. White Sox are, one of the best teams in the American League. Maybe not record wise right now, but in terms of their talent, one of the best teams out there. Red Sox have won 8 of their last 10, so that should be an interesting matchup there. And not too much. I mean, Braves Phillies, I feel like is always interesting. So that'll be going on. And yeah, and then yeah, the two main series to watch are coming out of the West Coast.
Yeah, a lot of good West Coast baseball this week for sure.
Yeah, we got Padres Brewers, which is a matchup between the Padres, who are tied for the division lead? No, half a game out.
I think they're just under the Dodgers.
Yeah, Padres are half a game out of the National League West lead.
And the Brewers are in the National League Central lead. That is in San Diego. The Padres won the first game of the series last night, and that will be a 3-game series. And then also we have Giants Mets. Mets won game 1 of that series last night, and that will be going
Destroyed Alex Cobb.
until absolutely just
Wait, well,
hammered.
I need to get a Cobb check. What's the expected ERA at after last night?
I think it's still under 2.
Oh, it definitely is. He gave up like 3 or 4 ground ball hits, all of which had an expected batting average below like 150.
Yeah, they all had like projected distances of about 2 feet. Literally. It's insane.
Yeah, he's the number 1 searched guy on Baseball Savant right now.
The people know.
6.25 ERA, 1.9 expected ERA.
Love that.
Keep Alex Cobb in your thoughts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the guy has had otherworldly, horrendous misfortune this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, poor guy.
Very, very porous.
He has a -4-degree average launch angle. Yeah.
And a great strikeout to walk ratio.
Yeah, he is top 11 percentile in average exit velocity, hard hit rate, expected WOBA, expected ERA, expected batting average, expected slugging, barrel percent, chase rate, and most of those he's top 7 percentile in.
Yeah,
Poor guy.
Yeah. I should have put him in my all-star rotation.
Yeah, facts.
He deserves it. Come on.
Just keep him in your thoughts. Oh, well, what's his BABIP against right now? It's got to be brutal. Either that or his BABIP with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
It is 411. He has a 411 BABIP against a 66.3% ground ball rate.
Yeah, the 411 BABIP doesn't even do justice how unlucky he's been.
Literally.
Because like even the batted balls he's given up should not be hits generally.
Yeah, no. Think about Alex Cobb today. Keep him in your thoughts. If you're religious, say a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. the guy needs it.
But anyway, day-by-day matchups for the next few days.
Yes, so tonight, a couple good matchups. Marcus Stroman and Tyler Mahle will be facing each other. Stroman just returned from the COVID IL. Mahle still trying to get out of Cincinnati. Right? Yeah. Unfortunately, he is pitching at home, so he will be giving up 5 earned runs. Well, here's a good, interesting storyline matchup. Walker Buehler versus Josiah Gray in Dodgers Nats. Trey Turner and Daniel Hudson made their returns to Nationals Park last night. Josiah Gray was traded for Trey Turner. So obviously a former Dodgers top prospect. He'll be facing his former team tonight. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Kyle Gibson versus Max Fried tonight in Phillies Braves. That is a good matchup. Sonny Gray will be facing the Tigers tonight and Tigers Twins in Minnesota. Oh, here's an interesting matchup that we don't get a lot of. Kevin Gausman, Jordan Hicks.
Yep. Blue Jays.
That'll be fun.
Blue Jays Cardinals. Blue Jays Cardinals was
matchups.
the site of the best slide into home plate ever made.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. That was Chris Coughlin. Yep. Also, that was such a memorable series. It was just a random series at the end of April in 2017. There was that, and then Matt Carpenter hit a walk-off grand slam. And speaking of walk-off grand slams, Paul Goldschmidt hit one last night.
Yeah. When these two teams match up, man.
In St. Louis.
Yeah. Things happen.
You already know what's going on.
Yeah.
Framber Valdez will be facing the Guardians tonight in Houston. Interesting matchup, Nick Pivetta versus Dylan Cease tonight in Red Sox White Sox. Nick Pivetta threw a complete game his last time out. Dylan Cease has been living up to our big expectations. We both had him as our Cy Young pick. Dane Dunning versus Noah Syndergaard. Dane Dunning has been promising this year. He's been exciting to watch. Zach Gallen will be pitching tonight in Royals Diamondbacks. I love when we have the random matchups that never happen. We were just mentioning Blue Jays Cardinals, but Royals Diamondbacks really feels like it hits different.
Oh yeah.
Like there's the unexpected matchups that usually don't happen, like Blue Jays Cardinals that we just mentioned. But like I just mentioned, we have memories from that. You could tell me the Royals and Diamondbacks have never faced each other. I'd believe it.
Well, yeah, and also like there's like with something like Blue Jays Cardinals, there's an element of like at some point, maybe they could meet up in the World Series. There's none of that in Royals Diamondbacks. No. They're not meeting up in the World Series for at least another 4 or 5
and they never have been. Like the Diamondbacks were good in the early 2000s. Royals were bad. Royals were good in the mid 2000s. Diamondbacks are bad. The Diamondbacks picked it up in the late 2000s, like 2017. Royals are bad. Like these teams have never been good at the same time. It's also a 10-10 or it's a 9:40 start tonight, so that doesn't help. There was a good storyline last night though. Zach Greinke made his return to Arizona.
Oh yeah,
and he probably gave up like 3 home runs. You have James Caprillion versus George Kirby, was Chris previously mentioned. Really good matchup. I'm not going to put it as a matchup of the night though. Corbin Burns versus Blake Snell in Brewers and the Padres. That's a great one though. This is a great night for matchups because the one I'm about to mention, you could finish that one and then flip on this one. That's going to be some good baseball to watch. The aforementioned Chris Bassett versus Logan Webb. That's why they were shown, because they're facing each other tonight in Mets Giants. Matchup of the night comes from the Florida series, the Marlins Rays series. Pablo Lopez, Shane McClanahan. It's a 6:40 start. Like, I mean, hear me out. You'll watch those two. Their game finishes. You go flip on Burns Snell. Like it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, for sure.
On Wednesday, a lot of good matchups on Wednesday as well. I'll be trying to enjoy a lot of those. I have some plans tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, whatever. You have Dylan Bundy facing the Tigers in Tigers Twins. Dylan Bundy has lost a ton of his velocity, but he's still been performing reasonably well, which is interesting. Julio Urias will be pitching for the Dodgers against the Nationals. Saving that for matchup of the night. Aaron Ashby and Yu Darvish will be facing each other in the Brewers Padres. That's another good matchup. By the way, Freddie Peralta just went on the injured list. He's going to miss a apparently significant amount of time. I think this is his spot start, which is why Ashby is starting. You have Kyle Hendricks versus Luis Castillo in Cubs Reds. You have Ranger Suarez versus Charlie Morton in Phillies Braves. That's an interesting one. Cal Quantrill versus Christian Javier in Guardians Astros. Rich Hill versus Lucas Giolito in Red Sox White Sox. Reed Detmers will be pitching for the Angels. Matchup of the night comes from A's Mariners. Very weird matchup of the night, but these guys. One of them has been performing very well. One of them is a name. Paul Blackburn versus Robbie Ray.
Yeah.
It's
Paul
only
Blackburn
right.
had an interesting year.
It's only right that I get to watch Robbie Ray tomorrow.
Yeah. It's a nice present.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Basically, no one has announced their starters for Thursday, but it looks like it could be an interesting day. Justin Steele versus Hunter Green in Cubs Reds. I'm literally naming every starter that has been named. Adam Wainwright will be facing the Brewers in the start of Brewers Cardinals in St. Louis. Michael Wacha will be facing the White Sox in the finale of that series. He's been otherworldly with his 160 BABIP against.
Yeah.
He's been like the anti-Cobb.
Yeah.
Those are the others. Those are every starter that's been announced except for a good matchup. Like there are 2 other starters. This is a legit matchup of the night. It might not be, but barely anyone's been announced. Aaron Nola versus Kyle Wright in Phillies Braves. Legit matchup of the night when 5 starters have been announced.
Yeah. All right. Well, that should do it for the 183rd installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, or that Adley Rutschman video we pulled up earlier in the episode, go to our YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. If you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gian, follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_current, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. And we hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time, probably this week, where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball once again. See you then.
This conversation is over.